There's one goal here, and one promise I made to Mrs. Ford is winning. For that to happen, everyone needs to be on the same page to be in the best position with the right plan. Every person in this building has a job to do, and each job is important. If we can get one step better every day, that's putting this organization in the right direction.
Donald steps up in the pocket, now throws. It is picked up by Rice. Comeback right side. Inside the 10. It is Quandre Diggs to the 5. To the house. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. How about Stafford opening it?
Oh, my God. It is Sir Mix-a-Lot booty thick.
Lions fans, it's time for the podcast you've been waiting for. The Detroit Lions Podcast post-game show with your hosts, Chris and Case.
Hey, howdy-ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions Podcast, episode 241. This is our live post-game show, the official Detroit Lions Podcast for Reddit. And we're doing it here with your dashing host, me, Chris, and my co-host and good-looking young fella, the Sandman, Andy Morris. How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you?
Oh, you know, another day in paradise, my friend. Another day in paradise. I'm
just so used to saying good. How are you? Without second thought. Program.
Yes.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah. It's a tough one, man. Today was not what we wanted to see. I can safely feel like I can say that this team that we saw today on that field will not beat another team in the NFL, period. I wouldn't care if the Dolphins or the Jets were on our schedule. That team that was out there today couldn't beat them. This was bad, but we'll talk about it. We'll dive in that. We'll talk about a couple other things. We got the huge contest coming up here for next weekend. Going to do the announcement on Tuesday, so get in on that soon. We'll talk to you about that. Great show lined up. Hey, are you ready to go, my man?
I'm ready.
This is no time for a quick release. We're going deep.
All right. We're just going to go right into it, all right? Let's start off really quick. We'll talk about the sweet, sweet contest we got going. It's still a great experience, whether the team's there or not. Get into the Patreon by Tuesday, guys. You got till Tuesday. It's going to be roughly 5 p.m. on Tuesday that we're going to do the drawing to pick a winner from the Patreon subscribers to get them to a ticket to join us at the Detroit Lions game against the Cowboys in a suite. You can't beat the suite experience. Hashtag what?
Too sweet.
That's right. Thanks to Sandman for putting this all together. He got the suite and gave us this one to give away. So patreon.com/DetroitLionsPodcast. Get your donation in there. Consider keeping it around afterwards, but it's a monthly deal. And we love it. And actually, well, I don't want to talk about it yet, but all the Patreon money might just be going to something different. So we'll talk about that later as that starts to materialize. Patreon.com/DetroitLionsPodcast. You know how it is. Get in there, get your chance to join us in a suite this coming Sunday in the game against the Cowboys. Where do you think Matthew Stafford will be there, Sandman?
At this point, I don't think so. I honestly think that this team is out of the running far enough that no reason to risk Stafford. I think Stafford will be willing to risk Stafford, and if we see him next week or at all again this season, it's because he wants to play and not because the team thinks that's what's best for him.
Yeah. Really quick, Amick says Trubisky had one game this year when he was the best quarterback in the field. No, Stafford was on the field. He just didn't play. Just to follow up, too, I got to thank Peter Von Panda for second place in the Patreon giveaway. We got this sweet, sweet Sega retro arcade set. It's pretty freaking awesome. 42 games on it. Like I say, I love Dig Dug. Those are my favorites. You got the Sonic games. You got Virtua Fighter. It's another one I love. Tons of great stuff on here. Second place in the drawing for the Patreon donators. So thank you everyone who's doing that. All right. No Matthew Stafford. That was a surprise. That was a this morning announcement, right?
Yeah, it a super surprise to me because he had interviews this past week where he said, it's a different injury than last year, but not a big deal, blah, 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 blah. And then for some unknown reason, the team doctors decide to take another, apparently, more invasive look than they did at all during the week, which seems really weird to me. Why are you just now taking x-rays or MRIs or whatever are indicating that he has a broken back again?
Right.
Why are you doing that the day before the game or the day of the game? Why is that happening that late? Why is that not happening the same day as the Raiders game or the day after? It feels really weird. That's the only way for me to put it. Is I'm not saying anything nefarious is happening, but that's weird as hell.
But something nefarious.
I don't
is
understand
happening.
it.
Yeah, no, that's one I don't understand. Is Bob Quinn a guy that's early to tap out? Is that kind of where he was leaning with the Diggs thing, right? Is he ready to tap out in this season already? I think this is a game that we win if Stafford's on the field, no questions asked.
Oh yeah, no questions. I think that that Driscoll did a good job today for the most part, but he was missing wide open guys in those 10 to 15 yard spots that Stafford has been killing teams at this year, and it's just like 4 or 5 plays different, and we're talking about a different outcome today.
It's so weird. Right? I mean, it's just so weird that I wouldn't have. We've said it, and this is one of the things. I mean, we can tear this team apart all day, and that's fine. But we've said it since the beginning that if Matthew Stafford is on the field, this team won't win. Right? I mean, that's we've said it since training camp. Right? And him not being on the field today is absolutely what cost this team. Defense was out there like a ton. Right? They had to be just gassed, tired. I don't know. Is this that we're working for a draft pick? Are we already there right now?
I don't know if we're working for a draft pick, but we're working for a draft pick. Regardless, even if they're not trying to get a draft pick, I think that's what they're doing. Especially if Stafford ends up on IR, or if they just determine that it's not worth it. They don't want an RG3 situation. They don't want an Andrew Luck situation. I honestly, at this point in the year with the team that we have, I would not mind watching Stafford sit and then just, doing what we've done every other year, right. Waiting to see who we pick at number 8 or 10 or whatever.
Or number 1. Do you think, let me ask you, I'm going to put something out there. You ready? Everybody ready? Are we looking at Burrow? Is that what we're doing here?
God, I hope not. I think we're too far away. I think Stafford still has enough time in him that I don't think we need to worry about that. But
what happens? I mean, I was ready to have the joke today about a quarterback controversy if Driscoll did like anything exotic out there, right? But no, that wasn't happening. I'm just wondering if you want to get someone young and bring him in and give him a couple years under the staff, man. He's just, I hate to say that because I love Stafford. You guys know that, right? But after this Iron Man streak breaks, this is a tough one, man. His back again, broken again, different spot. Are you kidding me? Holy shit.
Yeah, that's the weirdest.
You can only carry a team so much, right?
That's the problem. That's the problem is his bones are giving out. Exactly right.
Oh my God, this is just incredible. And again, I'm not saying that. Look, I want a good quarterback. I want us to get a good backup. Obviously, I don't want to. And I think we can start thinking about Stafford's replacement, right? I mean, it's something that as a GM you have to think about at some point. How long is your guy going to be here? And hopefully they have those kind of conversations where Stafford's talking about, hey, look, I'm tired of getting beat up, right? Maybe this is his last contract. Maybe that's his. He's already said that, and they've had those conversations. I don't know. Maybe they had those conversations this week, and that's why he didn't play. And we're racing to the bottom. Driscoll. Boy, those open players they missed were tough. One other topic I want to talk about too, and we briefly touched on it while we were getting set up here. I'm just hot, and this is different. Don't take this the wrong way, guys. This wasn't game changing, but I'm just absolutely hot about getting the asshole side of the freaking calls from the refs in this damn league. It's driving me insane. We got the 2 face masks, right? The uncatchable pass interference, right?
Yep.
You got the one where what's his face led with the crown of his helmet and took out Wagner, right? And then you got the questionable PI call that put them down on the 2-yard line or whatever. Just incredible, and it never ever. I don't see bad penalties going the other way. Maybe once, I'm waiting for them, and I'll laugh at home watching the game. I'll be like, oh, that's not one we should have got. I don't mind, like being honest about it. I'm just not seeing them go that way, and it's like, again, this team, you just can't put this team against that kind of shit, man. Slay played like shit too. Yeah, you guys in the chat are right. I mean, he looked really bad in the first half. I don't even know, man. I don't even know about where this team is, where it's at. Driscoll didn't have any time to prep. We're almost within 7 of the Bears, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're in good shape.
Yeah, right? I think the refs this year have just been awful, like overall.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, we watch the games that we watch, and I watch the Ravens versus Bengals or whatever, and a bad call happens. I don't even think twice about it. I'm just like, haha. Refs suck again, but you're right. It stings more when it happens to your team, and it does seem to happen more to the Lions. I don't know if that's generally because we're paying more attention or if it's true, but yeah, I mean, I was telling Chris before we took off that, like the pass interference along the sideline, the uncatchable one, like I just sat in my chair and laughed about it because it's laughable at this point. I can't even be upset anymore about calls like that because, it is what it is at this point, and we know they're going to be bad, and I don't know what to do anymore other than laugh because I can't keep getting upset like I have been in the past. It's just like a no-sum game, Yeah. It's awful.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
It really is. It hurts. It hurts. Didn't expect this. And what's really crazy is we were giggling at Riz, and I gotta hit him with the bullhorn. Riz was right about his 5-11 prediction at the beginning of the season, right? We were 3 games in or 4 games in early on. We were like, ha, what does Riz know? Shit. He's freaking Karnak, right?
Yeah.
Jiggly, you're right. Galladay with just horrible drops. I mean, you've got to help.
That may have been the worst. Yeah, that may have been the worst series we've had by a wide receiver on the Lions in a long time. He had a holding call. He had 2 dropped passes. He basically killed that drive by himself. And I hate putting drives on players like that, but I mean,
that one
he basically did.
Yeah,
that was pretty wild.
Yeah,
pretty wild.
That was just really, really disappointing. And then the short pass, like, just throw it away, man. You have like 4 more seconds or 3 more seconds, and then 2 plays instead of 7 seconds and 1. And then the other part of it, I'm going to tell you, I was freaking hot at Patricia. Just ahead of the 2-minute warning. Could have called the timeout then. We'd have had 7 or 8 more seconds actually at the end of the game, the way those plays worked out. But he didn't stop the clock ahead of the 2-minute. He wasted them both after. That just really, really frustrated the hell out of me, man. That's a miss. It's a complete miss.
Yeah, there's a lot of misses like that I think, when we brought Patricia in, one of the things that we always faulted Caldwell for was the lack of that small stuff, right?
Yep.
Lack of filling in the small gaps that we still have left over. And, we're still having those problems. I agree with you 100% about the timeout. I, had a tweet wrote out about it, and I thought it's not even worth it anymore. I just deleted it, But, yeah, you take the timeout at 2:06, and you might get their entire drive done before the 2-minute warning. So instead of getting the ball at 1:47 or whatever it was, we get the ball at 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's, seconds matter especially when you don't have your starting quarterback in. When you're going with a backup who's probably not going to hit those 30-yarders, 40-yarders that you kind of need to score in those situations. Just small stuff like that's been riddling the Lions and me as a fan all year.
Yeah, it's tough, man. They're making us work. I don't know what to say. They're definitely making us work. Let's open up the phones. 248-782-8384. 248-782-8384. Give us a call. We'll get you on the show. I am really frustrated about that shot on Wagner. That one really, really pissed me off because that's absolute player safety that was completely ignored, missed, just thrown away. You know, they just threw it away, and that shit just drives me nuts. Hey, caller, what's your name? How many you had?
My name is Greg, and unfortunately, I've been sick, so I haven't had many. But if I were healthy, I'd be having a shitload.
I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you. What do you got going on? What do you got for us today?
I am a 53-year-old diehard Lions fan from Connecticut. I live and bleed my Lions. God, they piss me off. I'm just frustrated. I don't know what we are. I want to love these guys so bad, and I do, and I'm just like, I'm just frustrated like I know we all are, and I just don't know what our identity is. I don't know, is Patricia right? Is Quinn right? I feel like sometimes we're making moves, and it looks good, and we're making calls, whether it's Quinn gets at Harrison last year and looks genius, and then, and then all the stuff that's going on now in the locker room, whether it's Diggs or Tate last year, and now, Slay kind of bitching in the background, and I just don't know what we are. And now with Stafford being done, potentially being done, because it sounds like it's got to be long-term because it's a big game today. I mean, if he could have played, it was our last chance, 3-5. We can't get there now, the playoffs, in my opinion. And so if he would have played, he would have played. And so if he's out long-term, I mean, if he couldn't play today, it's got to be long-term, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Just, I love the team. I got my flag flying out my house. I friggin' oh God, I get so friggin' emotional about this team. And
you're not alone, man.
I know I'm not, and I fight with my nephews over him because they love Stafford, but they say he's not. I'm always fighting for him. But anyway, I don't know. I just bummed. That's all.
I'm with you, man.
Yeah. I like your question or your thought about how the team doesn't have an identity. I guess I haven't really thought about it that much, but you kind of spurred something when you said that, and I have to agree with you here. And it feels weird because one of the things that, I hate harping on, when Patricia came in, they promised us this, whatever. But part of the allure of a Patricia and a Quinn was that they had a culture, right? And when you have a culture, you have an identity, because you know what you want to be. So every player either lives up to what the team is, or they're gone, or, whatever. But the team has an identity. Maybe the players don't, but the team does. And you're right. We really are kind of in a weird spot where last year we had no offense, so we weren't an offensive team. We weren't a defensive team last year either. This year we are an offensive team, but it seems to be more of a Stafford team than an offensive team. We still don't have a running game. We still have major issues with that. The defense has regressed to a ridiculous state that's kind of hard to, even quantify. But, when we brought Quinn in, we really wanted that.
Our D-line, sorry, but our D-line was so good. It was so strong. When Harrison came on, we just became stout against the run and showed promise. And even though our offense was decimated with injuries and trades and Stafford getting broken back last year, we kind of gutted it out. But I felt, okay, we're adding, Daniels and Flowers to the line. We're adding, Coleman and Melvin. We're going to have good man-to-man guys. So why our D I know we've had injuries. Harrison and Flowers has been coming on. Obviously, Daniels hasn't really done anything aside from that lucky sack today. But, our linebackers, I think we all love Davis's work ethic, and he's in there, and we all know he's a rah-rah guy. But, man, our linebackers are just and I'm hoping Tavai can be a mainstay going forward, but it just seems like Davis is sadly just, we're going to have to move on from him, I hope. But in our run game, in our run game, it's like, I know we've on both sides, we've been trying to build the line, D and offensive. And I like the theory, the thought, but it's just not being executed. Carry on doesn't seem like he's going to be a long-term answer because he never stays healthy.
No.
So anyway, it's just, it's just a bummer of a day. And, just a little frustrated. But anyway, but I appreciate you guys. I watch every podcast, and Yeah, I'll leave from here and let you guys talk, but go Lions.
All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks for calling in.
That's awesome. There's something that he brought up. I saw this. I was out of town all week out in San Francisco and came back on Friday. And on the flight back, I was looking through the movie. I was like, oh, wow, here's one I'm interested about this. It was a movie called The Russian Five. Have you seen that?
I have not seen it. I heard about it. I plan on watching it, but I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. And I'm gonna go into this a little deeper on the weekly show here this week, guys. But I want you to think about this a little bit. If you haven't seen Russian Five, go see Russian Five. It's a great story. It starts before the Lions or before the Red Wings had picked up any of the Russians yet, and talks about the Iron Curtain was still up, and you couldn't, the whole had a defect and all that kind of stuff, right? I think about this, and I was watching the movie, and I was looking at it through the context of the Red Wings, who were, like I said, I remember in the early 80s when they were giving away a Jeep Wrangler every game to try to get people to come to the games, right? Then they got the Bruise brothers, Proby and Koser there for a while, and had some interesting stuff, but really didn't do a whole lot. And then they picked up Stevie Y, Joey. What's his name? Devellano. Picked up Devellano as a GM and got Stevie Y and started getting a little something. But when the team finally started coming together, it really, really made me feel like a little bit about the Lions today. They picked up Scotty Bowman, who was a good coach, who was the wonderkind, right? One of the best coaches in the NHL at the time. But they knew they had a good coach in him, right? And then they put together the Russians as they did, and then they kept going and making the playoffs, and then getting shut out, getting blasted. I'll never forget. It was like '94, I think, when they lost. They won the President's Cup, best team in hockey by like a mile. I don't know if anyone's even won that many games since then in a single season, and then got blown out in the first round by the third-year San Jose Sharks. I was so angry, and it'd been 40 some years since they'd won a Stanley Cup, right? They were the perennial losers here. And they kept coming so close and then falling apart, and then coming close and then falling apart. And then finally they were able to put it together. And I just feel like, as I look at, and Scotty Bowman, the stuff that we're talking about in the locker room these days going on with the conversations of the players and whatever, Scotty Bowman was the same kind of a coach in that Matt Patricia is, and that he doesn't want all that talk. He doesn't want all that look at me stuff, right? He doesn't want all that crap. He wants it to stay in the family, in the team, and he wants to run the team like that. It's pretty interesting to see the kind of comparison between the Wings and how they finally put together what was obviously one of the best dynasties in hockey history. They may be trash now, but once the salary cap hit, they just folded Ken Holland into a million different, folds. But it was amazing to see how they built that up, and how people, the year before they won the cup, people were down on the team. They were down. That was the Chris Draper face in the sideboards year, right? But people were down, can't win with the Russians. These players don't do it. The players suck, the whole thing. And they came back and they did pretty well. I don't know. It was an interesting kind of thing for me to see that and think of it in the context of the Lions. I haven't given up on the staff or the coaches. There's a significant culture change that's happening right now. And they traded off Ray Shepard, who was a 50-goal scorer. Because picked up Larionov, if you guys remember him, who was 147 years old at the time, because he was a guy that bought into the system. So I don't know. It's just interesting. I think you should watch it. Everyone go do it. Watch Russian 5 as your homework. We'll talk more about it in this week's podcast. Hey, caller, what's your name and how many you had so far?
My name is Pat, and I'm a first-time caller. I haven't had any booze, but I have a whole case. Does that count?
That's fine. That's good. We just have to know kind of where we're at when we're talking, right?
Well, I'm 15 years sober, so I can't.
There you go, brother.
Can't go with the hard liquor anymore.
Good for you.
It's cool. This is actually the first I've ever called into a talk show, so this is kind of for me. But some things. When I first was listening to your podcast, I did watch the Russian 5 documentary earlier this week. That was amazing.
It's a great movie.
Oh, it was so amazing, especially for me, because a little bit of backstory that explains my Lions fandom and also my Red Wing fandom. I was born in San Francisco during the Niners dynasty, but my dad's from Detroit. So I grew up in a family watching the Niners, but because of my dad and his Barry Sanders obsession, the Lions obsession, to this day I'm a Lions fan. And we eventually moved to Detroit in '94 when Eiserman got hurt, and this kid named Sergei Fedorov was having his MVP season, and I absolutely fell in love. I was like, oh my God. So to this day, Sergei Fedorov is my all-time favorite Red Wing.
That's awesome.
But going to these Lions, I guess why I'm calling is I'm looking for hope because it's so frustrating watching. And a couple weeks ago, when I first saw your podcast, you were one of the first people I heard talking about what I thought I was seeing on the field, how there was like a culture shift, how you could see them moving in a direction. Quinn's plan seemed to be making sense. Like, Mayhew would grab a wide receiver in the first round or grab a player over here, and you're like, why? Well, that doesn't really make sense. It seemed like every move Quinn would make, okay, that makes sense. That looks good. And like Patricia seemed like you could see coaching plays in the game. You're like, okay, that was cool. I could see how that's coaching right there. Like last year against the Bears in the Thanksgiving game, Chris Sims was talking about a possession right before Stafford's pick 6 where they schemed up a blitz that they hadn't used the entire game, they hadn't used the whole season, and he was saving it for a play like that to get the ball back on that 3rd and 10 and give his players a chance to bring it home. And the lesson Chris Sims took from like that game was Patricia coached a perfect game and tried to put his players in a position to win. He just doesn't have his players. He doesn't have the guys that can finish. And so that kind of stuff gives me hope. But then you're watching the up and the down of the season. I kind of, and correct me if I'm wrong, because what I'm looking for is just honesty. And like, I felt like maybe there were more good coaching plays than not in this game. Like that special teams quick fix where they went from they were going to go for it, then they said they were going to punt, and they forced them to pin it down in the 5. I thought that was really cool.
Yep.
And then there was those, I don't know how you explain the final drive of the first half and then the first 2 drives of the second half, but it seemed like the defense settled down again. They got some sacks, they got some pressures. I just don't know what the future holds. And I guess my mindset has always been, is this more, I'm still pro Patricia and I'm still pro Quinn. I think Pasquale, I agree with you 100% about the whole variable maybe, and maybe Pasquale or Pasqualino needs to be going. And then, like, is this maybe more injury-based? I know everybody has injuries, but losing Hand and Daniels and all these guys, I mean, that's a significant amount of your team.
What do we have, like 5 guys injured on the defensive line?
Yeah.
Today, yeah.
5 guys on your defensive line. Kevin Strong and John Atkins are they're undrafted free agents that are playing significant snaps.
Yeah.
Are guys maybe playing out of position because of all the injuries? And like Akbar's not, he's not a world beater, but he was more effective last year when we had a healthy front 7. I just don't know what's going on because last year was a top 10 defense. This year it's basically the same players, and minus the injuries, and it's drastically different. I don't know. I've always taken the approach, like it seems like they're adding good depth, and we're like those clutch players away. And is it this off season when we get those guys, that crashing defensive end or that linebacker that makes that play that we need, or are we just going through another cycle of repeat and rinse?
Yeah, I think that the injury thing this week was the number one reason why this game went the way it did, that we didn't win this game.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's the same reason that our defense isn't hitting the way it should be. Look, I mean, again, I'll say, injury, everybody gets injured. We've had this has been our year for injuries, though. This has been crazy how many guys are hurt. And it's just hard to recover from something like that. The fact that we've been in so many games, I mean, every game we've been, this is, I think there's only one other game that we were this far out of it or this far gone at the end of the game, right? I mean, look, the wins aren't there, but they are executing. They're executing a lot. I absolutely complained about the call, the lack of the timeout at the ahead of the 2-minute warning, and coach made a mistake, right? He's still young too, though. I mean, it's his sophomore season. It's the kind of thing you see. I see improvement on this team. I see a team that has a lot. I think there's some problems in the whole kind of locker room thing, and people are going to be mad at me about the whole what I'm going to say here. The whole thing with Darius Slay right now, you got a problem because what good do his comments do for the team? Right? None. That's not a team player doing something like that. We know Slay's a mercenary. We know he's out. He's just going to sign whoever, wherever he gets the biggest check. That's that. I'm sure he's heard about the Diggs thing, but that does nobody any good. All that does is cause a problem in the locker room. Because why? Well, because, you start it's gaslighting almost. If you start jamming the press in there, asking what's wrong in the locker room, what's wrong in the locker room, are you still beating your wife? Right? It constantly turns into something different. We had that conversation last year, and at the end of the season, it was like, oh yeah, no, he hadn't lost the locker room. I guess that was all BS. This kind of stuff. This is silly stuff, man. This is the kind of thing where, and you see how Slay, I mean, I don't know if it's injury or what this year, he has not been the Slay that we know. I will tell you, I don't think Darius Slay will be on this team next year. I straight don't think he'll be here. And frankly, I'm not sure that I'm going to be angry about it. As much as I like him, I just don't see the team first aspect that you want out of a player. And that's really tough because he's a guy that could be amazing on this team, I think, in the long haul if he just had the right attitude.
Well, good. I'm glad I'm not the only guy out there who's thinking that. I mean, overall in your assessment, because I mean, I kind of feel like sometimes we as Lions fans overvalue our own talent. And, I mean, Darius Slay is very good, but, like, I could totally see fans and, like, if we were to re-sign him at near the money he wants next year or the year after, him slipping and then, like, the fans turning on the management for overpaying for a guy that clearly is past his prime. So, I mean, I think it maybe might be time to let him go.
Yeah,
in the offseason.
Him missing those snaps in the preseason or in training camp, I think that was huge bad for him, and that was the me first thing, right? And that's I just don't think that flies. I don't think that flies with it. Wouldn't fly with Scotty Bowman, to go back to that Russian Five movie. And it's not going to fly with Jim Caldwell. And it would fly with Jim Schwartz, but those were teams that had some of their own kinds of issues, right? I think that the cultural shift that's happening in Detroit is one that has to happen. It just this culture has been the same across multiple regimes of coaching regimes and GMs, and we get the same result at the end. The best thing that can happen with Matt Patricia, even if we don't get better as a football team, is to absolutely change the mindset of the people in the locker room and get this team fundamentally thinking differently, because it's a you see us come out strong in so many games for so many years, and then something happens. It'll be a bad call, it'll be a bad something, and then they just fold. They just crumble. And it's happened again, multiple coaches, multiple regimes. It's a cultural thing with this team, and it's just got to change. And good guys, it looks like, are going to have to go to make that change. And I hate it. I hate it, but that's just the way it looks.
Well, Chris, you're awesome. Thank you so much for taking my call. Sam, man, you probably don't know who I am, but like I used to be on the Den for a very long time back in the day. And I used to love your slow lights. Still do whenever you have them on, but I've been following you for a while. So
the Den goes way back.
Great talking to you guys.
Thanks a lot, man. Thanks for calling. Appreciate it.
No problem. Have a good day, guys.
Yeah, you too, man. Right.
So let me bring something up here real quick, because
you do it.
I was listening to you talk about the culture and stuff like that, and about how it can't be me first. But to me, that's what's going to cost this team wins, is if Patricia and Quinn are doing that. They're removing the identity of these players because they want it to be about the team and not the players. I don't think that works outside the Patriots, and we don't know why that doesn't work outside the Patriots, but we know it doesn't seem to.
It worked with
the problem is well, not in football, though. We're talking about a 53-man roster that everybody knows that no NFL team is looking out for them, that they have to get the money when they can get it. And I think if a team starts to treat players like inanimate objects and states to them that that's basically how they're going to treat them, that we're going to have a real problem.
So
because you can't treat players like that.
Sure. And I think there's a little bit of a difference there, because I don't think that players can't be themselves, but like when you go into Slay criticizing how the team is being coached externally to the press, how does that's not putting him, that's not putting the team first for sure, right? It's not helping the team though. Even if he it literally has no positive effect at all, right? And other teams that we've had in other cultures, that was like, that's just kind of what happens, and they do that, and then the team has to react to it, and whether it's right, wrong, or otherwise, right? That's his opinion. He's welcome to his opinion. But when you start airing dirty laundry, that's that kind of selfishness is just not an okay. I think having personality, being yourself, all that kind of stuff is totally great and awesome. Like, and I'll use Tide Pod boy Gronk, right? He had his own personality out there, but you didn't see him criticizing the team. And of course, when you're winning, you don't want to criticize or whatever else. But they don't have any problem pulling in anybody like Josh Gordon or Randy Moss, guys who are verbal, mouthy, and known to have some of those kinds of things. They show up and they clamp down and they do great and they ball out and they sign big contracts and they win championships. They sign big contracts elsewhere, but they win championships while they're in town, and they subvert to the plan. I mean, that's
winning though. That's winning. Like when you win, you can do that sort of stuff. But we don't know why Slay is saying those things. But I can tell you right now that after the Diggs stuff came out, it kind of makes it sound like the players were trying to have those discussions internally and maybe weren't being listened to, and now Slay doesn't give a crap. That's kind of what it felt like to me, because
sure.
We've had multiple people leave and say like, they're not letting us voice our opinions at all. That happened with Diggs. That happened, Quinn had an interview, the safety, not the GM, that basically said that once Caldwell left, like the players union, kind of massively butted heads because it was this is the way, do it or don't, instead of a, democracy, I guess is how I would put it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it feels risky, especially when you're not good and you're not winning, to have this sort of, hard-nosed edge as a staff.
No, I get that, and I understand. Of course, winning cures all ills, right? But if you're not heard, you don't feel you're being heard in the locker room, and you feel like the coaches are doing a bad job, you, number one, have a contract you have to play for. You sign the contract, right? And when it's time to go, it's time to go, right? That's that. You can pick up and play for somebody else. You got free agency to work with. In the meantime, you got 52 other guys that are counting on you doing your best to execute the plan. That's it. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It's do it or don't, right? And when you start causing external rifts, I don't care what team you're on. You start causing external rifts out about the team, then that becomes a big deal. So, I don't. That's the other part. If they're not feeling heard, I get that. I understand the frustration that would cause, right? And that's where you start thinking, hey, maybe it's time to go somewhere else or whatever else. But Caldwell, I think, was a little too much on the coddle the player side. So that's it. It's just what it is. 248-782-8384. 248-782-8384. Feel free to give us a call. We'll take your jinglers, get those dial-in fingers going. All right, let's see. Oh, a deal. Peter Von Panda wants to hook us up with a deal on toasters. Let's get that going. Peter Von Panda, youtube.com/Peter Von Panda. He's got this one up for a giveaway. It's a pretty sweet deal. Sega Genesis retro gaming system, pretty fun. Let's see. Themic is saying it's a weird argument when these comments get made on winning teams. It's called leadership, and losing teams called locker room. You don't hear people calling out the defense, or not putting players in the right place on winning teams, right? They aren't typically critical of their coaches and coaching staff, but they absolutely get killed. So.
Well, that's because they're winning though.
Right.
hard to complain when you win, even if it's an ugly win. It's still a win.
But yeah, no, I agree. It's interesting. It's interesting because you've got a couple variables, right? But I will say, and I will fight to the end, that ripping on your coaching staff to the press and to external people is not going to do anything to help your team. It's not going to change anything for the better. That's for sure. So there it is. I think it's just kind of an emotional thing that, like with Slay, I love this guy to death, man. He's funny as hell. He's got a great personality, but I think he's emotionally a little bit immature, even for his age. But he's, it's carried him a long way, so can't knock him too hard for it. All right, so 7-point loss. We saw some amazing work from Jeff Driscoll there on the 2-minute warning. Never seen such an incredible drive with so little time left. I don't know. It's. We walked in the day when you texted me this morning. I woke up really late today because I was up really late last night. Still in West Coast time. And you're like, what did you say? Oh, yeah, they bait and switched you.
Yeah. Well, it's going back to something we talked about a little bit earlier. The timing of the Stafford injury feels weird.
It does.
It just does. So Stafford was practicing all week. We have reports of him practicing. We have reports of him throwing 60-yard bombs during practice. Doing his thing during media time. Like, this is while the media's there. This isn't just, behind closed doors. And then the day of, it gets determined that he's, got a broken back and this and that. It feels weird that Jeff Driscoll didn't get more time and that they didn't know until they knew. It feels like a bait and switch in that way, for sure. It just, something feels really weird about all this.
Yeah.
Like the whole, the doctors were doing their things and then somebody came in and reminded them, hey, remember that time that Trent Williams is suing the Redskins because he had cancer on his head? And then they went, ooh, maybe we should be more careful on our end than we normally are. I don't know. It's funky.
Yeah, he didn't seem to be walking in any pain, right, on the sideline at all. I mean, we know Stafford's a tough guy, right? We know that, but he seemed to be perfectly fine roaming up and down the sideline, and that was a little bit frustrating to me. He laughed, he jumped, he did some other things. I'm interested to see how this plays out because look, if it's fractures, I don't see him playing the rest of the season, right?
Yeah, I don't know if we're not in it. Last year, you could say the same thing about last year though. He had a broken back. I guess the doctors determined that he wasn't going to hurt it any worse by playing. And if you give Stafford the choice of playing or not, he's going to choose to play.
Yeah.
But, this is different. It obviously is because he missed a game because of it. So I'm not sure what they're going to do with him. If they shut him down, I won't be shocked because we really have nothing for him to play for other than the fact that to make us have a watchable team, maybe keep selling tickets. But, if it's going to be bad for him or, if he can injure this any worse, and, obviously that's what they thought could happen, then I don't know why they would put him out there at all again this season. Let him heal up. We don't want another Andrew Luck situation on our hands for sure.
Yeah, I think the tickets are sold, right? I mean, I think this season's done.
Mine are.
They're all
my tickets are bought. Yeah,
they're on the secondary market now. So, Alex Dunham in the chat makes a good point. Driscoll has potential. Don't jump on him just yet. And let's be honest, the guy had the morning to get ready to play, and he went out there.
Yeah,
and
he had no time.
Yeah, and played us to within 7 and a final drive to tie it and see what happened from there. I look, he's not Matthew Stafford. I get it. And when they said how hard he threw the ball, I giggled because it was nowhere near like a Matthew Stafford pass. But I don't think we need to write him off. Again, this was the Bears though, right? And I think the reason to really be down on the Lions and be kind of sellers right now is you look at the shot to the head that Wagner took. He's out. You got how much of your O-line is out? 3 out of 5 starters, something like that. Your first 2 running backs, your quarterback. You got a wide receiver core that's healthy, but your Galladay's dropping balls like crazy. He was just, I don't know what the hell was going on in his head out there. I mean, you're missing literally half of the 11 players on your offense of your starters. That doesn't bode well for any team, right? And then you go to, it was like 5 injuries on the defensive line. Well, you're down to, the bottom of the barrel on safeties. You've got guys hurt like crazy. This is our year, obviously, for the injuries. This is just a crazy year for us to have so many guys injured. And then to see him play like this, I got to say, I mean, generally, 2 years ago, this would have been a blowout. If we had this many guys injured, we'd have just gotten smoked. And I'm not saying this is a moral victory. I'm just saying that real victories are going to be real hard to come by when you're on second and third string players.
Yeah, I think, the Bears are kind of – I was looking at their schedule a little bit earlier. I think if they have another win on their schedule, it's probably us on Thanksgiving if Stafford's not playing, because we're so beat up. I think that this was a game between two bad teams, man. I just like it. It just is hard. Like you said, we've got a bunch of injuries. We were down to 2 defensive linemen or 2 defensive tackles rather.
Yep.
At the end of the game, that was it. We only had 2 healthy guys, which is crazy when you start with a rotation of 6. I think it's just a nightmare. But I do think that Driscoll played well enough today that I'm not, saying every game we have left is an immediate loss. But he needs time to get better with our starters. You could tell there's disconnects. He was missing some wide open guys. I think he was nervous. He's started in the NFL before, but it's still, I can't imagine it's something you just get used to. We and are good to go forever. You do it once, you're good.
Right. We saw Marvin get hurt because he got stretched out on that one catch, right?
Yep. Yeah, he got pancaked between those 2 guys, Mukamara and Fuller, I think.
You can't.
It was just an ugly game top to bottom, and it just made that much worse by injuries. And
what do you think about Tavai today? He played. I think he had a good game today comparatively for him for the season.
Yeah, I thought he looked good. He had the mic today. He played middle linebacker. They pulled Davis off when they only needed 2 linebackers.
Yep.
Which I think is probably the correct move at this point.
Yep.
I think that Tavai still looks like a rookie every once in a while. He had a couple missed tackles, but that's kind of been plaguing the team as a whole this year. I kind of look forward to seeing how they use him the rest of the year, because I think that'll be an indication of how he's going to be used the rest of his time with the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think he was an improvement in, the run scheme because he was more patient with filling his holes than Davis generally is. I think I only saw him in coverage once or twice. He had the one good play to hold Gabriel short of a first down on third down. But yeah, I'm excited to see where he goes. I don't think he's world beating or anything like that, but I think our linebacker play has been so bad at this point, and an upgrade anywhere is very, very, very welcome.
Yeah. I think Kevin says it right. I can't be too disappointed with this loss. If you told me the Lions were going to play a backup quarterback on the road in Chicago, I'd have expected this to happen, right? I actually, if we had thought about this at the beginning of the year, I'd have thought we would have lost by a lot more than 7 points, and with a chance at the end. Trying to find some silver linings here, right? But that's the honest to God reality. I never would have thought without Stafford we'd even. Let's put it this way: without Stafford or a number 1 or number 2 running backs, we'd have done this well. So we'll see. You got the Carolina Panthers beating the Packers. That's an interesting one this week. Tavai missed a couple tackles. Yeah, Taylor Decker. This guy is one that's an interesting problem. Got the 1 penalty in a really bad spot. It looked like his hand got kind of hooked in the dude's pad, and when he spun, it kind of took his hand with it. It didn't look like he was gripping like on the jersey. I think he just got screwed by the right tackle or the right end making a good play. Sorry,
and it's so hard. And so this is going to be, I'm going to get started on this a little early, I suppose, but this is going to be the discussion of the offseason, is that Quinn has tried to build this team in a certain way in the trenches on the offensive line, to keep Stafford healthy and to keep him upright. And so far the season's been better than average for us. but we're running into a weird scenario, right? Where Glasgow's contract is coming up, and he's been average to slightly above average. Definitely hasn't been bad by any stretch of the imagination. You've got Taylor Decker, who is horribly average.
Yeah.
He's probably the most average offensive lineman we've got on the team right now.
Yep.
Then you've got Rick Wagner, who's average to slightly below average, it seems. And all these guys' contracts are coming up, and we can't let them walk. Because if we let them walk, what are we doing? Now we're adding 3 more holes to an off season that we've got 8 holes already. And, you can't put Stafford in that kind of situation again. It's going to be real funky to see what they do with Decker, if they do his 5th-year option, or if they, whatever they decide to do, what they decide to do with Wagner, what they decide.
They'll do Decker's option for sure. They, like you said, they can't dig that many. They can't fill that many holes, and they're not even going to try. They're just not even going to try. So they're going to do that and try to space out some of these needs over time, and see where it goes. You're absolutely right. The amount of treasure they've put into this offensive line to be a solid average or slightly above average offensive line is amazing. This is, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say when you put that much money into it and you wind up horribly average or just above average. They were ass before, right? But there's just so much. Bad. There's so much in there now. It's a tough one. That's really tough, man. Running backs. We need a running back, right?
Yep.
We need linebacker.
If you went, you go down the list. It's corner. Real gnarly.
Yeah. Yep.
We basically need every position on the defense. We need offensive linemen. We need running backs. The only thing you could say that we're okay at is wide receiver and quarterback. That's it.
I wouldn't say we're okay wide receiver, to be honest with you. It's interesting. Every team needs players because of the salary cap league. But this is an interesting place that we're in. Very interesting place where the Lions are right now, and not good.
Yeah,
not good.
And we're here because Quinn likes to draft high floor, lower ceiling guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he hit on Galladay. Galladay is like an immaculate draft pick. He's turned into way more than his 3rd round, pick should have been.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at the rest of our draft players, like we've gotten a lot of starters. Tracy Walker, Harris now. We've got a lot of guys that have started, but none of them are good to great, right?
Mm-hmm.
Walker was looking pretty good because, he's leading the team in tackles, all sorts of stuff, but at the same time, he's not, killing anything out there. So when you have a team full of okay guys, you have a okay team. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what we're facing with. So we're always hoping that the 1st round picks are going to, kind of push us over the edge. But so far, Taylor Decker, Hawkinson, Ragnow, all those guys are good. And I would never want them not on my team.
Right.
I don't think they were bad picks, but at the same time, none of them are holy crap. Look what the Lions got. We need to be nervous about this. There's no Ndamukong Suhs. There's no even Nick Fairley's, type of picks that really, freak other teams out in the division.
Right.
And, that's kind of where we're lacking. And it's going to be interesting to see where we go at the end of this season here.
Yep. Something I had talked about earlier in shows, including our show this last week, about Mike Vrabel coming in at defensive coordinator, because I think Pasqualoni's gone this year. I mean, he was brought in. We've talked about it before, but he was brought in on when the latest possible time to hire a coach. We hired Patricia. He needed people in. He brought in Pasqualoni because he knew him. Right. I mean, he was comfortable with him, and he knew Pasqualoni could implement his defense in the interim while Patricia got up to speed. I was really, really high on thinking that they would be getting rid of Mike Vrabel this year on Tennessee, because I think they're a little impetuous in how quickly they fire people. But they just beat Kansas City today. I think Vrabel, today's game saved Vrabel at Tennessee as a head coach for another year. So there you go.
Yeah, him and starting Tannehill.
Yeah,
that was a good choice.
Yeah,
Get that Mariota guy out of there. That's no bueno for for them. But yeah, I think it's interesting because I think that I'm gonna call him PP, Paul Pasqualoni, should be PP. PP should be gone at the end of this year.
Yeah.
But I don't know who Patricia can bring in that will run his defense. You know what I mean? Unless he's, doing what Bill Belichick has always done, which is, this is my defense and you can run it, but it's at the base of it, it's going to be my defense. I think that's what Patricia wants to do, but that's hard to do. Bill Belichick has always just brought people up. Brian, whatever his name is, that's the head coach of the Dolphins, was their linebacker coach.
Mm-hmm.
And he just got promoted to DC. Matt Patricia was a positions coach and just got promoted to DC from within.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if PP's doing such a bad job with this defense. I don't know if somebody else is going to do that much better if we're, putting him in the exact same position.
Here's an interesting question, and this is something we could probably explore in the next couple of weeks. Does Quinn go away from his defense and let somebody else bring in their own?
I would have to see whether Patricia would do that. Part of me says no, because Patricia, that's his identity, right? Is running his defense. And also, to be real frank about it, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, this team is built around this defense. Tavai will not work in a standard defense.
Mm-hmm.
You put Tavai on any other defense that requires speed at the middle linebacker spot or change of direction, and it's just not going to happen. I think a lot of the rest of our defense would probably be okay, but you got to look at our defensive line as well. We have guys that are big and strong to help prevent the run, but with very little pass rush. I don't know how this group would transition to a different style of defense. They might be able to go into some sort of hybrid, but I'm not sure if Patricia would ever even, let that sort of thing happen.
Yeah. This hurts. It's been painful.
Very painful.
It's been painful this year. And last year, we ended with that big 34-0 victory over Green Bay. That was so nice in Green Bay, right? It felt so good. I don't know. And how much can you say? Again, it goes back to those injuries. How much can you say about how this team is good or not with so many people not on the field? Even the scheme. You can say, "Oh yeah, the defense is bad." Well, I think pretty much any defense would be bad, missing 5 or 6 of its front 7.
Yeah, but it's been bad the whole year.
But we've been missing guys, right? We started the year missing Hand and Daniels, right? And Daniels came in for 3 plays again, and he's hurt. That one just really dragged. It's such a drag for me that he's just been out all year. Such a waste. Of talent.
It's just. Every team is missing 1 to 3 guys, though, and this defense just.
But you remember, we started the year pretty well, other than the tie that people were really frustrated with. But I give them a pass on that because it was week 1, and week 1 is so fucking fruity. But
the pass defense was good, but the run defense and the D line getting pressure,
right,
kind of been bad consistently.
I think a lot of the run defense, though,
defense is getting.
Comes to Snacks missing so many reps, holding out early.
Maybe, but he still doesn't look right. He's got plenty of snaps in now. He still doesn't quite look right.
Yeah, you're right.
It's the Bears didn't run on us by any stretch of the imagination, but they also have not a very good O-line right now.
Right.
I think, next week we're going to really see, when Ezekiel Elliott, crushes us for 300 yards on the ground or doesn't, it's going to be, I think that's got to be the plan of Kellen Moore and the Cowboys, is just to run it down our throats.
Yep.
I think that'll be the real indication of how our D-line is feeling, but apparently we're going to be going into next week pretty banged up. So it's going to be a scary sight probably to watch, but
yeah, agree. Antonio Falone tell Risdon we should have signed Jonathan Hankins. I will tell him that.
Riz will love that.
Yeah. I gotta tell everybody really quick. Again, do your homework. We're going to talk about the Russian 5 on Wednesday. So check that movie out. We'll talk about that a little bit. Also, if you need your Red Wings gear or your Lions gear or any sporting gear at all, go to fanatics.DetroitLionsPodcast.com, fanatics.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. Get over there. It gives you the officially licensed high-quality merchandise that you've come to expect. And they're the guys that run the Lions store and the NFL store and all that. And well, I'll talk about the NFL store in a second. But if you go to fanatics.DetroitLionsPodcast.com, it goes right to the site, goes right through. You don't even notice anything except it throws a little cookie in your browser and lets them know that we sent you there, and they give us a little kickback on your purchase. So they may
get your Driscoll jersey.
They may sell paper bags, the Amick, so we'll or the Mick. We'll get there. Yeah, Piston stuff there too, Joe B. It's all available wherever you feel your heart is warmest. You can get your sports gear there. So they're pretty good stuff. Can I just really quickly take it aside, and I said this in the Slack chat, but I have to say it publicly. That stupid Champ is Here NFL shop thing, that stupid ad. I want to gouge my brain out every time that thing comes with a freaking dull spoon. I cannot stand that commercial. It is so goddamn irritating.
Bum, 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 bum. Champ is here.
Here. Jesus Christ, man. Stop. Oh, God. Okay. So, yeah, absolutely don't go to the NFL shop. Go to Detroit, fanatics.DetroitLionsPodcast.com. That would be a better way. Show them the Champ is over here. All right. Let's see. We're going to, if you want to give us a call, we'll do one last call for phone calls. 248-782-8384. 248-782-8384. Welcome your calls here before we close out. Or if you want to use just Skype to get through, it's Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word. Detroit Lions Podcast, where the sexy guys hang out. All right. Defense looked bad. Defense seriously injured. Offense looked mediocre. Offense mostly injured. Special teams, hey, how about them? Huh?
Yeah, Prater always looks good. I thought Martin did a good job of punting. Had a couple good punts today. Really dials it in when he's only doing a 40-yard punt. Kills it, downs it real good. We didn't have anybody running out of bounds this week, almost touching the ball.
Yeah.
So we've got that going for us.
Yes. Got a question in the chat about the Sweet Life. Oh, we should have done that. Sweet Life. We went #2Sweet. We did not answer that yet, Jim, or announce that yet, Jim. We were giving people through 5 p.m. on Tuesday to get connected. Patreon.com/DetroitLionsPodcast. Patreon.com/DetroitLionsPodcast. Every dollar you donate will go give you an entry into the chance to win a sweet ticket, SUITE, to hang out with Sandman and I and a couple of your closest friends for the Cowboys game next Sunday at Ford Field. Great deal. Thank you, Sandman, for putting that together. That was awesome of you.
Absolutely.
All right. I think I've run out of gas on any other topics on this team right now. I'm terrified about Stafford being out. I mean, not even. I mean, just this record is going to be less than respectable just from looking at the numbers at the end of the year if he's not there. He had such a great year so far, and this just derails so much.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if Stafford doesn't play another down this year, I could completely see us losing out. Yeah. 100% we could lose out.
We play Chicago again, though.
We do play Chicago again at home on Thanksgiving. It's loud no matter what.
Yep.
But it's a short week. Like you said, we're already fairly injured. We'll have to see. We'll have to see where we sit.
Yeah.
Health wise.
Yeah, that's this is huge. The Stafford thing is huge. And we'll see. There'll be a lot of talk about it this week. There is the whole concept of tanking right now. But if you tank, you're going for a quarterback. And that's a whole nother conversation then, right?
Or that guy that borrows money from family friends and pays it back. What a jerk. Can you believe that guy?
What a loser. I would never do such a thing. I still owe all my family members money.
What? What an idiot. Yeah. The NCAA
is just disgusting in so many ways.
It really is. It's the worst.
God, it's so frustrating. Joby, let's get that jerk. And the jerk store called, and they're all out of you. That is a good line. All right, let's call it a show, man. I think everyone else has had enough too. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Remember, we're looking for your involvement. Use the comments and the subreddit to give us your feedback. And don't forget about us on Patreon. Don't forget about yourself on Patreon. Win that sweet ticket. #2sweet. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Every dollar you donate for November up through 5 p.m. on the 12th will get you a entry into the drawing to win a sweet ticket with us to hang out with Sandman and I at Ford Field, as we've said. And there is a second place prize. Look at that. The sweet Sega Genesis Retro Arcade, 42 games from your past that you're going to love playing. It's a sweet deal. Thanks to Peter Von Panda. Go check him out, by the way. YouTube.com/Peter Von Panda, one of the funniest channels you can find. He's a really sweet dude and has some great stuff out there. I gotta get him in. We gotta do some stuff with him. You guys, I want to expose you to some of the Panda isms because they're amazing.
I'm tired of getting exposed by you. What are you exposing?
Okay, move on. Check us out on Facebook. Facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast. Facebook.com/The Detroit Lions Podcast. And on the Instagram, it's all Detroit Lions Podcast. It's easy to find, of course, on Twitter. Get on the Twitter. Help us out. Get us over that sexy limit there that we're at. We want to hit 3K. It's at DET Lions Podcast. DET Lions Podcast. It's organic. It's beautiful. And it's the best way to see Sandman.
Guam. With no pants on.
Sweet. That was good. Give us a call. Skype, Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word. Or call us on the Lions line, 92933-LIONS, 929-335-4667. And leave us a message. We'll get you on the show. Also, go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com, click on all the ads, and then subscribe to the podcast so we can pop up in your ear holes automatically. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time on the Detroit Lions Podcast. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, no problems, baby, because we're your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection. Whew. Thank you, YouTube. You guys are awesome for hanging out, man. You guys are absolutely the best.
Good as always.
I'm so sorry for you and me and Sandman and all of us for this Lions team this year. God, I'm optimistic, and I feel like an idiot for being optimistic because I don't think they're making playoffs, but I do see a team that's made a lot of strides year over year. They just don't show up in the right column.
That's, and it's one of those things for sure that this year has been massive upswings, massive low swings. We're not floating in the middle somewhere feeling okay. We're feeling awesome. We just beat the Eagles. We were in it with the Chiefs, almost beat the, crazy Chiefs, who turns out maybe they aren't as good as we thought they were. And then we come down and we have got losses like this and losses like last week. And it's, swinging around.
Jiggly Scrub.
Low swinging.
In the chat, he just hit me with, if you predict 10-6 every year, you're bound to be right once. Oh no, my friend, not with this team. I actually ratcheted back to 9-7 this year. Still abject disappointment, man. Oh man. Oh well.
Yeah, nobody predicted it correctly this year after the week 1 tie.
Maybe. Well, yeah. I mean, you're right. But I'm unfortunately gonna say that Riz was really close to being right because he predicted a 5-win season, and then right now with Stafford out, I mean, goddamn, that's probably right. That's probably.
It might be hard to get to 5 if he doesn't play again.
Yeah, yeah. They weren't what we thought they were. That's right. All right, guys, we're done with the stream now. Thank you so much again. We appreciate all you guys' support and watching and hanging out with us. You guys are the bomb.